for the continent. And we're being asked to make sure we do more for women and for youth on this continent. All of that requires significant amount of increase in resources. But they are mindful of the fact that we operate against different kind of shocks. And a major shock is us as African Development Bank. We get significant resources from our countries, donor countries, that if there are shocks and they are not mitigated, it could become quite challenging for us in those headwind situations. So I'm pleased to let you know that the Board of Governors of the African Development Bank, today at their meeting chaired by the Honorable Cabinet Secretary, the Chair of the Board of Governors of the bank, approved a general callable capital increase for the African Development Bank in the amount of $117 billion. That's 117 billion US dollars. This is a major demonstration of the faith, of the confidence that our shareholders have in us. Their confidence in our ability to use resources well. Their confidence in our ability to mobilize more capital with what we have. And it will give us more liquidity buffer as a bank to be able to do more. And what that really means is that the authorized general capital of the African Development Bank will increase from 201 billion US dollars, 201 billion US dollars, so $318 billion, that is $318 billion. You will agree with me that that is a lot of resources that have now been given to us for firepower while preserving our AAA rating under any kind of circumstance that will arise. As president of the bank, I am grateful to our shareholders. I am humbled by the level of confidence they have in us, because the boat that we are in is a boat that has to carry Africa to the destination of its transformation. That boat cannot leak. That boat must have all the resources it needs to get there. And I think what we found today was the confidence of the shareholders of the bank to make sure there will be no leakages in that boat to be able to carry Africa to its destination for transformation. And finally, I have talked about everybody that was here, or that's been here. Well, you've been here. You've been here since the beginning. You've been covering every single session. You've paid a lot of attention. You've gone out to the field. Some of you, I saw, at least you are all back. You know, none of the big fights have eaten anybody or injured anybody. You know, everybody's been doing very, very well. It's been wonderful to have you here covering this event. When I started, I was told there were 150 of you, media houses. Maybe there are more today. I haven't asked Director Solomon how many. Over 200. That's great. That's the kind of thing we want to see. Thank you for showing interest in Africa. And thank you for showing interest in the issues that we are discussing. And I have no doubt that you will properly report the good news on Africa and the news of a resilient Africa, now with an institution that the heads of state say is the Africa's bank to get us there. And we now have the firepower to do even more. So thank you very much. My time now to thank His Excellency, Honorable Professor Njuguna. I have to say it publicly. I have to tell you what I told my wife this morning about you. He is one of the smartest people that I know of, one of the most hardworking people that I know of, but he's also one of the most humble people that I know of. And thank you very much for the exceptional way in which you have chaired, led, and guided the process that has gotten us to where we are. We are very grateful to you. And when you are getting the flag done, the Secretary General said that maybe you are in the military because of the way you are folding the flag. But let me tell you, today I would act like a military. Here's my salute.
Thank you very much indeed, President Desina. We have come a long way, so we know each other for many years. When you are working from here, and you covered several institutions, and created even a lot of institutions. You created AGRA, for example. So it means we have been there trying to. That time we were trying to create to develop capacity, and now we have capacity across so many institutions. Because I would like to leave some room for you to ask questions, let me make some 4 quick points. First, we are honored to have been chosen to actually host the annual meetings of the African Development Bank Group. It is not a simple thing. It has taken me an hour. It's taken me a year to walk through the whole process to try to get ready in terms of hosting and all the dynamics that go with it. So I'm very happy about that. This is the 3rd time we are hosting the African Bank annual meeting since its formation. I'm trying to remember the first time, but I will still get the history. But I know the last time we hosted was 1994, and the bank was celebrating 34 years, and we hosted in this same complex. Now we are hosting the bank when it is celebrating 60 years. It has grown. It has capacity, as you announced, $318 billion is mind-boggling. You can't imagine it. Maybe we can get some imagery in terms of how you can see $318 billion. Some imagery. Yeah, you know, in Kenya sometimes they say that money you can put it along the road, joining nodes together until so many kilometers. It's not easy to understand, but that is massive capacity, and that is what we are fighting for. So we are very happy about it. The bank has become more dynamic. We are hosting the bank at 60 years, and we are saying because we don't want to break that sequence, make sure that we are included when in the next 30 years that we will host the bank when it is 90 years old. And that is why we are anticipating that we build more capacity, and we can ask ourselves then, how much capacity have we built? That second point is that the theme was quite telling, and I've talked about this theme so many times. We want to talk about Africa's transformation. We want to ask what is the role of the African Development Bank Group. And the second thing is, how do we accommodate as a grease to the wheels of the economies of Africa, the reform of the architecture of the global financial institution, of the global financial architecture. Why this theme at this time? Because everywhere you turn, we complain about that we have buffeted by very, very negative persistent shocks. They range from climate change to pandemics that we haven't seen before, and supply constraints because of geopolitical systems. So it is not one shock. There are multiple. In Kenya alone, I was just telling some colleagues of mine, is that 2022 we suffered the worst drought in 40 years. 2023, the El Nino hit us so hard. Again, we were in dire consequences. You have come in when we had floods. In fact, it's only the rains must have respected this annual meeting, because it's only the 1 or 2 days that the rains hit, and it's only one day that it hit very hard. I was here on Saturday with my colleagues trying to check how things are going, and it was even difficult. It was very difficult around 8 o'clock to drive home because of the flooding on the roads and all that. So, but what is the implication of those floods and shocks? Is because we have to shift a lot of resources to save lives, and even look for partners to help us. And that is, for us, very, very important. But when we are asking for a global financial architecture, is that we are actually saying, look, we need banks that have the capacity Now, African Development Bank has raised its capacity through callable capital. And Mr. President, I may add that even the governors themselves insisted that it's not just adding the callable capital. It is also looking for avenues to make sure that the African Development Bank has a standalone AAA rating. It is not going to be dependent on who are the shareholders, so that any shareholder who is downgraded does not affect the bank at all. And you can see that was a very, very strong message, especially when I was chairing. I had to correct this message. Everybody kept on saying you need an independent, standalone AAA rating so that the effects of your shareholder should not even be significant to what you are. And that for us is very, very important. It's a signaling. But why do we need that capacity? We need that capacity because if we want a big, bolder, and better bank, it has to have a capacity. Capacity to develop instruments that are also flexible. Flexible because I want you to help me. In my language, we actually say that if you are generous to help me when I'm in trouble, let it also be very fast. Don't wait until when I'm dead and you're saying, I was coming to help you, please. No, I'm dead then. So for us, where I come from, there is a saying that says that generosity also should go with speed. That is very, very important. And finally, the scale itself is very, very important. So we have several things. Capacity, so that you can construct instruments that are going to be consistent with diverse economies in Africa. Fit for purpose, because you want to make sure that you are aligned to and understand what you are going to support, and the objectives are known. Scale, because sometimes massive resources are needed. You talked about what's the gap of resources needed to uplift the country, especially now that African economies are trying to recover from that set of persistent shock. And finally, the flexibility that you can construct different diverse instruments because we are being buffeted by different challenges. Because that's the problem. That's where what we have seen over the years, that there is only one type of instrument and it takes a long time to get it, so it means it doesn't help you.